Monday, January 20th, 2014. I'd like to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Supervisor Weidman.
Here.
Supervisor Tice.
Here.
Vice Chairman Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Stavenus.
Here.
We have a quorum established. Next thing on our agenda is the public participation. We have in our audience tonight a cast of two.
And Laddie.
Actually, three. Excuse me, a cast of three. I see Victoria Cernich is there. Victoria, is there anything that you would like to discuss as part of public participation?
Not today, thank you.
You're welcome. I also notice that we have a Deputy Sheriff, Mr. Bob Lauder, with us. Sir, is there anything that you would like to discuss with the board this evening?
I don't have anything to discuss, and I'm willing to take any questions or concerns if you have anything.
Any questions or concerns from the board?
I had a question,
Uh-oh.
but it escapes me. It had to do with something, I think, along the state highway. Maybe to do with are you required to stay back from the county equipment, or? I assume that you want to give them plenty of room, especially if it's the big Oshkosh unit, but.
It's 500 feet behind the
500
cell
feet.
phone.
Unless you, 500 feet. Yeah, 500 feet. I think a lot of them have signs on the back that say keep back 200 feet or 500 feet, something along those lines.
Well, that's one person who really don't want to follow that rules.
I know. But it's been a while since the sheriff has sent a representative to see us, so it caught us off guard. But it was a pleasant addition. Thank you for showing up.
We tried, we've been busy lately.
I understand that, so, all right. Let's
I
go
thought of
ahead.
the question.
Go ahead.
I thought of it. I know it was pushing, like some people when they're plowing their private driveway, when they push the snow across the road, they're not supposed to be doing that, are they?
No, there's actually a county ordinance on it. And I think some of the towns have adopted some ordinances. We don't run into it a whole lot unless people call.
I assume you could, as long as you own the property across the street, you could push it across the street, but make sure you push it all, because it does tend to drift if you leave the little,
The big
rows.
part, is the
Yeah.
rows that they leave along. Because you can tell if you're going down the road and they plow across, they leave the, from the sides. That's where it gets dangerous.
okay, so there is a county ordinance that they should not be doing that.
I believe it's county or town, but actually,
They can push it across, but they cannot leave it on the road.
it has to be off.
They have to
definitely
clean
has
the
to be
road
off
when
the
they
road.
get done. Or they kill.
All right, let's move on to the agenda. Before we approve the agenda, you'll notice there's a second one in front of you. It's amended agenda simply to add in the approval of vouchers, bills, and claims, which is item 12 on your agenda. Otherwise, everything else is the same. Caught that after the fact. Thank you for coming. The agenda has been properly noticed, Linda?
Yes, I did post an amended agenda earlier today.
Okay, then I would need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Chuck, seconded by John to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion approved. All right, approval of the minutes is next. Board of Supervisors meeting from December 16th. Any additions, corrections, or changes?
Supervisor Tice had made 2 corrections, which I've made to my copy. On page 1, under approval of minutes, or approval of financial reports, I had motion by Tice and second by Tice. That was motion by Tice and second by Stavenus. And then under oral committee reports, on the tourism zone, the first paragraph there, towards the end, Tice indicated that if Senate Bill 385 passes. I was missing the if.
Okay. So
Move to approve the corrected minutes.
Second?
I'll second that.
All right, we're going to have motion by Chuck, second by John to approve the minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Okay. Financial reports you have in front of you for December 2013. You have the budget versus actual and account balances and transactions. Any questions or comments on any of those items?
And I guess I missed it the last time, but the Spring Green payment, was that on the 16th of December, 2776? Was that for contractual services for this year?
Correct.
I think, not that we have to discuss it, but I think we should put on the agenda for our next meeting that I think any contracts that are entered into by the town should be first approved by the town board. Because what we have here is and I know it came up in April for approval for this contract for the pesticide applications. But what we have is, we have a volunteer entering into a contractual agreement representing the town.
I'm
And-
sorry, I don't understand the volunteer.
Well, I mean, who authorized this contract?
I did.
You did?
Correct.
Okay.
The contract was approved by the town Park and Rec Committee.
Committee.
No, excuse me, board, which, once the funds have been budgeted to the board, and it is a board, not a committee, it is authorized to spend those funds. So it's different than a committee, and it's the only one that we have in the town that is like that.
So why was it brought before the town board last April? The contract was brought before the town board last April?
Because
I-
somebody argued it.
You know, I don't recall any particular reason why it came forward. What we did is we consulted, I shouldn't say we, Leo consulted with the town's attorney and decided that since we were into a 2-year contract with them, that we did not want to become involved in litigation over trying to amend that contract, and decided to honor it as it stood. And then in addition to that, Spring Green came back and said if we would prepay it, they would give us an additional discount, which they did. So
I
that's
mean,
how it
is
got-
this a kind of a usual occurrence where he's basically spending last year's money for services for this year? I don't think it wasn't approved as a 2-year contract in April. It was a 1-year contract.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a 1-year.
No, it was a 2-year contract when
No,
we,
it was 1 year.
well, I'd have to
It
look
came
into
up.
it.
And I only bring this up because it still is a controversial issue. And I think, when contracts like this, I really would like to see them come before the board. And maybe we can discuss that next agenda,
Okay.
all right?
Linda, you have any comments at all on any of the financial reports or anything along those lines?
Yes, it does indicate as of December 31st, 2013, but please remember that we do not yet have all of the year-end invoices from Door County Highway Department. It usually takes about 6 weeks after the end of the month. We also, there'll be an additional room tax, because we only have room tax, I believe, through October reported yet. So the bottom line numbers for December 31st, 2013 will change a little bit, so.
Okay. So we need a motion just to accept those and put them on file.
Move that they accept the financials and place them on file.
Second by?
I'll second that.
Second?
Guess we can
Who
probably
would
just
like
put
the
ditto
second?
marks behind everything. We have a motion by Chuck, second by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
When you got a short group,
Pardon me?
goes quick.
Yeah, it does go quickly. You're right about that. All right, oral committee reports and committee minutes you have in your docket or package here, committee minutes from the tourism zone. I don't know if there's anyone else have any oral
Got a
committee
few
reports?
things from the tourism zone.
Okay, Chuck.
We went through the year end, we're up 3.5% in dollars, or tax dollars collected year to year, or year over year. But when you look at the rentals, they actually fell. So the dollar increase has to be attributed to higher room rates in the system. All in all, we had a good year. It was as good as last year. If things keep improving, which they look good this year, this winter is bringing in a lot of people now that we get snow for snowmobiling and good ice fishing and that. So things look good for the 2014. A new program we're trying to start, Jack Moneypenny came up with the idea, and he's working with the state legislature, Department of Tourism, Department of Education, and the Department of Natural Resources for state parks. We're looking at making a state park passport, where you'd get this passport that would look like a U.S. passport, and you get a stamp at every state park you go and visit. And if you manage to visit all of them, and if I remember correctly, there are 69, you would, at the last one, fill out a form signifying and proving that you did visit all the parks, got all the stamps, and then you would get a t-shirt or some type of apparel that would say, I did them all.
Be better if they gave you a gas card.
They may, well, everything is in the works right now.
Free park sticker.
Probably this program will not take effect till 2015, because the passport has to be designed, you have to get everybody on board, make all the plans and everything, so it looks like it's gonna take a year to put it together. One other interesting thing is electric cars are becoming more and more prevalent, and people are calling and wondering if there's some place where they can charge these vehicles when they do show up. So again, Door County Visitor Center got on the wagon and managed to set up a program on purchasing power stations to charge electric vehicles. Jack is working, if he can get enough people to sign on, the more he can sell, the cheaper they get. We're looking at right now about $2,500 a unit. You put it in your yard or parking lot or whatever, and you can either give away for free the charge, or it can be set up with a credit card, like a gas pump, where you put your card in there and pay for a certain amount of time. The units they're looking at, it would probably take about 4 hours to charge a completely run-down car. But the way we understand it, that if you drive into a parking lot, plug in for 5, 10, 15 minutes, you get a partial charge at least. And you could keep doing this, if you stopped at the grocery store, maybe you plug in, or if you spend the night at a hotel or motel, you plug in there and leave it all night, or, for your 4 hours or whatever. But if anybody's interested in purchasing one of these units and putting it out, contact Jack Moneypenny.
Revenue.
Right now, he has partnered with Sturgeon Bay Utilities to put 2 of them at the Door County Visitor Center. He's working with WPS. He's also contacted the auto dealerships to see if they would not like to partner in, because they do sell these vehicles. So, just something to keep in mind and look forward to in our county.
Maybe it's a revenue generator.
It could be.
We're not having one at our kiosks.
I was just thinking the same thing.
We don't have power there, so we can't do that, John.
The idea of the passport, why don't they just try the effectiveness of it on the Door County parks and do it for Door County?
In order to get the Department of Natural Resources and the Tourism Department involved in it, they wanted it statewide.
Oh.
But Door County has, what is it, 5 state parks? There's no way you're going to visit all 5 of these parks in a day trip. So, you know, and do a decent job of it. If you're just going to collect the stamp, sure. But to stop and visit these parks and walk around, you're most likely going to spend the night in Door County. So that's what we're looking at.
Especially with Newport.
And the deal with the Department of Education, I understand the 4th graders have to go through a semester of studying the state of Wisconsin. So they thought by involving the Department of Education through the 4th grade, that might draw, you know, if these children take these passports home and get their parents interested, and even the locals then would visit the parks. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any oral committee reports on any topic?
You want me to talk on new business, or you want me to talk now?
You can do a new business regarding the pending one. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Okay. All right, hearing nothing else, we'll take these minutes and put them on file. All right. Also in your packet, you have the license and permits, the billing recaps for independent inspection, as well as the permits issued for December. A little slower in the month of December than has been in the past. Let's move on to pending business. Included in the packet again is the corrected, updated, and last version of our meeting schedule for 2014. The only, I think, change there that we really made was on the February meeting to the 24th, if I recall correctly. Anything else, Linda, that sticks in your mind?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Those dates should work with everyone.
Okay, good. So if everybody's on the same page there.
Can we carve this in stone now?
Let's hope so. We'll carve it in stone until we get down to probably the road inspection. That always seems to be a little fluid. It could change. All right. Also, next item is the notice from the State of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources on the revision to the master plan from the Whitefish Bay Dunes State Park. We talked about this, I think, last month. They have revised their master plan to account for the beach bark disease and what they're going to do in terms of removing those before they become either safety issues and/or while they have an opportunity to use the wood for some other purpose rather than just pulp. So if you want to look at that, they have a site here where you can go and examine that document. Next up, really comes about, it's the Whitefish Bay Launch Certificate of Deposit. And if you remember back in November, I think we talked about our budget and the fact that we had parked $10,000, a $10,000 CD specifically for the Whitefish Bay boat launch. And I think I was actually the one that raised the question of could we take that money and put it back in general fund or put it to some other use rather than designate it for the Whitefish Bay launch. And Linda, in her, I don't know how she manages to ferret this stuff out, but somewhere Linda managed to come across the original memo, which is 30 years ago from May 8th of 1984, which is what you have in your packet. And it talks about why the Whitefish Bay CD or monies were set aside. And if you go 2/3 of the way down the page, the paragraph, the one that means the most here, says the DNR wants funds to be set aside in a trust fund for dredging of the breakwall at Whitefish Bay. Also signs to be posted there. The clerk will send a letter to the state DNR agreeing to establish an escrow account in the amount of $10,000 for possible dredging in the future. From my perspective, this is 30 years ago. We ought to be able to move this money to someplace else rather than tie it up as a CD. The key thing that applies here is we no longer have a ramp there. We disposed of the ramp at Whitefish Bay, I think, 3 years ago. We could not keep up with the dredging to maintain it with the low water levels, and so it hasn't been a boat launch for a number of years. So to my way of thinking, we should maybe take a look at a couple different options for using that money, like your input on it. One would be to redesignate that money and release it back to the park board, which is where this would probably fit, and they could use it for capital improvements in the future for whatever purpose under the park. Or we could put it in the general fund, or we could redesignate part of it for Whitefish, take part of it out, and designate some for Clark Lake for the beach. You could achieve the same thing by putting it back in the park committee, because they also fund those things like the Clark Lake Beach. So,
This was all town of Sevastopol money.
correct. This is all money, it's been sitting in a CD
Right.
forever. And, you know, I can go back and certainly make a phone call to the state, but I doubt very much that a 30-year-old letter, there's any document that would, you know,
Yeah, but if when the water comes back up, they're gonna want a launch back in there.
if the water
And
comes.
that was the agreement when we took that launch out.
Right.
That if the water comes back up, that will become a boat launch again.
And I'm all for that, but the point too is that,
Well, it's gonna be a few years before the water comes back up.
so my take is
We could have other problems at that location too, though. If we've got that break wall standing there,
And
we have to remove that.
What if that breaks up or it gets nasty and we gotta remove that?
Or repair it even.
well, the funds there are set aside for dredging. That's the key difference. So it's not set aside for repair or maintenance or anything else, so I'm just
And
thinking.
signage, so maybe
Well,
we'd have
we-
to put a sign there that says break wall's broke.
If that costs 10 grand,
Are we legally obligated to maintain that?
no.
Well, you're obligated to maintain it in a safe environment.
No, but I
You
mean.
can't just let it
Right.
rot away and not put any signs or do something with it.
No, but I mean, are we able to abandon that?
No,
No.
We can't abandon it.
no.
It was
That-
established by who?
Oh, no, I went through this whole process of abandonment with the DNR over Clark Lake 2 years ago. And trust me, you'd sooner want to saw off your arm than try and take that step. I mean,
For the
it's,
town to abandon the launch?
well, I guess let me ask, what do you mean by abandon what? The ramp or the breakwater or the land?
All of the above, no longer make it a viable launch.
It's not a
It's
viable
not.
launch. It doesn't
Then-
exist.
So are we obligated to maintain it, to maintain the break wall, even though it, as a viable launch, it's only available during certain times anyhow? Is it our obligation to have a launch there?
No, we used, the money that was used to construct the launch in the first place came from the sale of the town park land at Whitefish Bay Dunes, as did money for other projects. So no, it's not from that. It's strictly, I mean, it's not a major deal. It was just one of those things where it's been sitting there for 30 years for a purpose that it's not been used for. So I thought you can achieve the same thing by giving it back to the park board that they could use for capital improvements. They could still pigeonhole a portion of it. You could put it in the general fund, or you could leave it where it's at. And we don't necessarily have to make that decision tonight. It's just, it came up, and I thought, well, since Linda found the detail, we could take a look at it.
Personally, I think we should consider abandoning it, since it's not a viable launch.
If you,
Well, the water has to come back.
if you abandon it, you'd have to
It'll come
take
back
out the
up.
break wall. And that could get darn expensive.
Well, it's expensive to try and dredge that thing out every year.
No, we
Well,
haven't
we don't.
been
We
dredging
don't.
it, that's the trouble. We haven't spent much money other than
Right.
the signs and the,
Oh, well, okay.
as long as it's there, it's, the break wall is usable. And
Correct.
people do
Right.
go out on it.
It may be something that maybe Linda, unless you want to bring it back, we'll just put in the file, and when it comes up for a budget in November, we'll take a look at it, see what to do with it.
Okay.
We at least got the documents, so we have some understanding of where it's at.
As long as that money is in the account, though, it adds up towards our reserve, right?
Well, it's a designated funds.
But it's still part of the reserve.
Well, it's a restricted fund.
It's, yeah, it doesn't, it's not our general fund.
restricted.
Well, it's designated,
It's
but-
committed. According to the auditor's definition, we have general funds, which are undesignated and unreserved. We have designated and committed funds, and we have absolutely restricted funds.
All right.
So,
And usually at the end of December, we have no funds. So that's another version of what they ask us to do. Okay. All right, so it's food for thought. We'll figure out where to go in the future. The next one in there is another topic that's come up at different times in budget hearings or budget work sessions and others regarding street lighting. And once again, Linda's outdone herself. She's managed to find all the documents related to street lighting. We've had the discussion about the fact that there are street lights in locations that are not, they don't make sense. They were put there for whatever reason years ago. Right now, as backdrop, we're spending $7,000 a year for streetlights, some of which are absolutely in the right places and others are not. If you read the letter dated March 3rd, 1989, in other words, let's see, 1, 2, third paragraph, last line. In other words, the town board may provide for lighting for highways in the town, but is not required to do so. It goes through how to acquire lights, what to do, and there's some more detail about where the lights ended up and who wanted them.
Where's the street light that doesn't need to be there?
In front of some of the taverns, for example, why don't we have street lights in front of Brad Birmingham's, or in front of the Happy Hour, in front of the different taverns around town where we don't have them in front of other businesses?
Okay,
I mean, street lights that are in places that are obvious, or an intersection, for example, I think there's a street light on the corner of Gordon Road and 42. Some of those, those make sense, but maybe not all of the ones that are there were arbitrarily placed over time, and we're paying the freight for them. So, that's one of the items.
Are those our streetlights, Egg Harbor Road turnoff?
yes.
I think that
Egg Harbor
probably
Road
is.
and the highway,
Yes.
that is ours, yes.
Linda's
How many
got
do
a
you have,
list.
1 or 2?
I don't know, it depends, they're rated by lumens, like some are,
No, I mean, how
brighter than
many
others.
actual lights do we have there? Because one of
At
them.
that intersection?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, we might have 3 there.
We have a listing of every light that we
Yeah,
have
there's
in
quite a few,
town,
there's
but-
quite a few.
So again, it's kind of one of those things where we bring this topic up, talk about it, we don't necessarily take any action or, kick it around. So she found the documentation on it, thought it made sense to bring it up and say,
so you'd have to go over each one light by light,
right.
and see which ones are good, which ones are bad.
We have several businesses that are no longer in operation, and the light is still out over what used to be their parking lot. So I know those are ones that we could consider removing. There are locations where we have 3 lights in a row within, say, 200-300 feet of each other. I think we could maybe afford or look at least taking one of those out. If we're,
And then we need an inventory in front of us then.
Well, my thought would be, one, we do have an inventory of every light that we are paying for. And the other one would be is, rather than everybody guess to where there is a light or where there isn't, maybe as part of the road inspection that we do in May, we would take the inventory,
Right.
take the document, and go around and decide on what lights are critical for safety purposes and what are there for other reasons, and let's decide where to go with it. So,
But that's in the daytime, the lights aren't on in the daytime.
we should be able to look up and see them, John. I'm
I'll
pretty
give you a
sure.
list, a very detailed
Once
list.
we get the inventory.
And maybe Linda will go out and spray paint each pole.
Well, I mean, if you want to get the full effect, you might want to.
Well, then we could arrange the
Might have a night
nighttime
tour.
right to it, yeah. Okay,
locate them all on the road tour, and then we go back on a night trip.
there you go. So, anyway, something for you to take a look at, and we'll put it in the to-do list with the May road inspection and see where we may want to make changes, or maybe we don't. So, but you've got everything that there is out there with respect to that. That's 4, 5, 6 different letters. Okay. Then we have Door County Planning Department, Public Education and Discussion, January 30th. John, you want to take that?
Yeah, that's, I think Victoria's gonna go to that one.
Oh, I think Daryl Harper
Also is
said he
gonna
wanted
go?
to And that's at 5:30.
Correct. And they're notified of that. Is this where you want me to talk about? We got a full agenda for tomorrow night. We couldn't get the meeting in, our meeting before this meeting. So
Okay.
we're gonna talk about the, what to do with the follow-up with Kay Miller on our rezoning proposal. And Door County Comprehensive Plan, we're gonna go over that, and farmland preservation. So, and I know it's down farther to, well, we'll get to that later then.
Okay.
Okay.
But Victoria's going to cover that piece, so we'll have that.
Yep.
Okay.
I also plan to go to that meeting because I think we will be getting information to collect and provide back to the county, so
Okay.
I will plan to go as well.
Good, thank you. All right. Right, under new business, we have a topic of all time to talk about. The clerk treasurer's conditions of employment and compensation for 2014. If you recall, we did this with Linda last year. It was signed by all the members of the board. The document, once corrected, makes perfect sense. Linda basically did, and I talked with her about this, we did add one item to this document that wasn't in the original letter of a year ago, and that's on the very top of page 2. In the paragraph that reads, participation in the Wisconsin retirement system is authorized if mutually agreed upon by the parties, or the if mutually agreed by the parties were inserted this year over last year. And if you recall this conversation of a few years ago, and Linda, you are more in tune with this than even me, this was an option that the board said we would participate in if you did, but it also required your financial participation. So that was the reason that we wanted to make it mutually agreeable. If you chose not to do so, you were not obligated. Am I correct in that?
That is correct, and I chose not to do so at the time.
I'm impressed with myself. Okay.
But I really think we ought to seriously consider this and look and keep it, I don't know. I realize at this point in time that it's probably not going to be much benefit to Linda, but for future consideration, it certainly should be something that we should offer.
We do offer it. That's exactly what it
Right.
But
said.
it's what is it, a 6 and 6 split, isn't it?
I don't know, some of those percentages changed with the Act 10, but I did carefully examine it at, this was probably, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago when we started.
The Wisconsin State Retirement System, and because of my age, you know, being over 60, where if I do an IRA contribution on my own, it's to my benefit to do it on my own, as opposed to being enrolled in an employer-funded program. So for myself, and it also, the board would also have to have a resolution on file no later than November in order to enroll in the following year.
Right.
So whoever my successor is going to be, the board will probably have to
We did this.
seriously look at that.
We did
So,
this, Dick, at the time that Linda went from part-time
Part-time
to
to full-time,
full-time.
right.
And that's what created her job and responsibilities, and we did make this an option. It just didn't say if mutually agreed by the parties were, so we inserted that.
Okay.
Other than everything else in that document is correct, and the revised salary has been updated correctly. So
That was her retirement package, right?
that was her retirement plan, right. So with that, what I'll do is I will sign that, and if everyone's in agreement, we may sign the document as well, and we will put that on file after the meeting, okay? Any other questions relative to that?
We didn't, include in here the shoveling the sidewalks, putting up the Christmas tree,
Those are the things
Those
that
are
are mutually.
All the
those
things
are
she-
fringe benefits, Chuck,
all the things
not
she
work,
does around
that's
here.
fringe.
We've made we're making overtures, or we've made an overture to someone to help with the shoveling of the sidewalk. So hopefully that person
I got
sees
here
fit.
early and she already had it done.
Ah.
So,
Okay,
what are you gonna do?
I believe Linda's done an excellent job. She's gone over and above the line of duty to maintain and keep this place running like she does. I think we owe her an applause.
there you go. All right, we shall sign
Thank
that
you.
then after the meeting and
Thank you
take
very
care of
much.
that. All right, next item of business is the Schenck engagement letter for 2013 audit and preparation of financial statements. If some of you may recall last year when we went to review this document, Leo was concerned that the letter came from a mysterious Schenck SC with no individual's name. So this year, I think through Linda's efforts, we now have a letter signed by the auditor who does our work, Michael Konecki, CPA. She has signed this document and forwarded it on. And this is nothing more than just what it is on its face value. They check us, verify everything is done. The other thing that has come up year over year is they always put at the end of our audit some comments relative to the fact that there are some things that they're, how do they word that? They're concerned about but not concerned about. And down in paragraph underneath audit objectives on the first page, it says let's see, it'd be 1, 2, 3, third paragraph down. We cannot provide assurance that unmodified opinions will be expressed. Circumstances may arise in which it is necessary for us to modify our opinions and add emphasis as matter or other matter paragraphs. So basically, they're saying what they've said in the past. These are some issues, but they're not really issues. Usually they revolve around the fact that Linda's job is both treasurer and clerk, and then a couple other minor things, which we are all aware of. So Linda's taking care of this. I just wanted to make sure you had a copy and you knew what was up. And it should make Leo happy as well. So,
Whatever makes Leo happy.
whatever makes Leo happy. So, John, you want to talk a little bit about what the plan is with the comprehensive plan? You just touched on it, and then...
Oh, well, like I said, we didn't get the meeting in beforehand. It says that the town board has to review, what does it say? An annual review by the town board of the comprehensive plan. We are gonna do that tomorrow night.
Okay.
Look it over. So, I think we should still be in the time frame. We'll probably have to put it on the February board meeting.
Is that when you think you'll have it done for that, for February?
We'll try to. I can let you know. I mean, like I said, the meeting tomorrow night, we're gonna go over that. We have a big schedule, but we're gonna have to go over it and see if we can get through it.
Okay, if it doesn't make February, more than likely it'll end up on the March agenda. Excuse me, the April
April,
agenda.
correct.
Sorry, the April agenda.
Okay?
So whichever way it works, okay.
Yeah. And we have some problems. I mean, it's not a problem, I guess, but it's, when we present goals and objectives in a plan like this, and then bring them before, well, like we did with the expansion of the higher density housing around the three areas that we had outlined in the comprehensive plan, which supposedly was presented to the town and approved, and then we bring it into an implementation process, and it's shot down
By the public.
by the public. I guess, it just, the whole efforts that go into something like this sometimes.
Well, it hasn't really been shot down because we haven't had our meeting yet. I mean, we could go into this meeting and, move the lines in a lot farther, and maybe people would be happier. I don't think they were very happy with the mile, that's for sure, so some people wouldn't be happy if it was, 10 feet outside the thing, so, I don't know. We're gonna have to get all the
We'll have to
information and
discuss
make a
it.
decision tomorrow,
Right.
how to proceed.
It's still a long-range plan, and even if the people decide they aren't ready for this at this time, you set it aside and move on to the next project, and maybe 5 years from now, we bring it back again, see what they think at that time. Because things change over that time period. Maybe they will be more.
This is gonna be an ongoing thing to review the comprehensive plan, year after year, and different stuff comes up in different years, so.
So your plan, though, in February, we'll talk about that aspect of the, you've got the results back, so you could share that publicly with where we're going?
The results back from
From
our,
the county, from the survey?
yeah, it wasn't good. No, they did not wanna do anything. There was, I don't know the exact numbers, because I don't have them in front of me, but there was only like
3 or 4.
3 or 4 people out of this whole group that wanted to do anything here.
And-
The rest of them wanted to do absolutely nothing, leave it the same.
And part of the problem too is a lot of these people are misinformed, or they interpret the information that's given to them wrongfully and make their decisions based on that interpretation. And reading through some of these objections that were in there, they were not founded by anything that we talked about. It's how they interpreted this,
What was going on.
this whole exercise of extending the higher density housing. And I don't know how you reach some people. I mean, if you tell them the sky is blue and they tell you it's red, and they'll argue that fact, it's a problem.
Right.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing back from you next month on it, and given, because I'm sure the public would like some ideas to where we think we're going with it. Although I think I have a good idea.
I think we have a good idea too, but we gotta hold out hope.
Who has the vouchers, claims, and bills?
We're missing your signature, Dan.
I think I'm the only person that might be missing on here, right? So everyone else here has had an opportunity to look at them. Any questions other than the one we had earlier? If not, we would need a motion to approve the vouchers, claims, and bills for December 17th through January 20th of 14.
I'll make that motion.
I had a
I'll
funny
second
feeling.
it too.
I'll second it.
As I said earlier,
Go
Linda,
ahead.
it looks like the motion to approve was made by Chuck, and the second, I think, was made by John.
Yes.
So with that in mind, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Okay,
Like Wheel of Fortune, Dick, you want to get in on it, you gotta be fast.
It's okay.
all right.
I'm not in the middle today.
Correspondence, a few things we'll run through. Oh gee, the first one goes back to a question or comment that, Dick, you brought up during budget time regarding roads and spending our funds that we were given by the state entirely for road repair, and Linda did a little work on that topic.
Right. Well,
And just detailed down on the bottom in her handwritten note saying that these funds, general transportation aids, are all encompassing and include all reportable expenditures for highway, which includes maintenance, equipment purchases, construction, reconstruction, snow removal, visioning, safety, signage, and street lighting. So,
yep.
just so you're
And I
understanding.
guess that reinforces my opinion that we're woefully underfunded in that category if we use it for everything.
Well, fortunately, we don't have to buy equipment to
No.
any great extent. We're mostly concerned with maintenance and construction or reconstruction
Snow
and snow removal, which this year ought to be,
Mowing.
will be in the
If
hole.
we're underfunded and stuff, that's a budget session thing. not to
Right.
not to
I mean,
bring
it
up
just,
the
it
month
just
later.
points out the fact that so much comes out of that small amount of money that we get that,
Yeah.
okay.
When you look at the roads we have though, and the maintenance on them and that, Sevastopol town has some of the best roads in the county.
We'd like to keep it that
And
way.
they're well maintained, and we're able to do that with the budget we've been allowed over the years, so.
I'm not gonna argue.
We could always use more money, but I don't know at this point where we're going to find it in order to put more into one side. You take it from somewhere else.
Yeah, but as I understand it, we are allowed to levy how much per mile?
We are what?
Allowed to levy how much per mile?
Well, you can levy up to $5,000,
$5,000.
but you still have a levy limit. If you
Well-
exceed the $5,000 per mile, you have to go to referendum.
Right, but I mean, we're not anywhere near levying
Well, we receive
$5,000.
180,000 in general transportation
Right.
aids, plus the 180 or 250, whatever we've budgeted in addition to that.
100,000.
So
100, what we
I think we
budgeted.
budgeted 150 or 160 for 2014.
To include
That's
that.
down from previous years, until we get ourselves back on track.
Once we get our coffers refilled, well, then we'll
Back
rip
on
up every
track,
road we
right.
can. Maybe that's an overstatement, okay. All right. Other correspondence in here is from Wisconsin Towns Association, talk about different classes that are available. As I read this, it made me think about in June, when we have the
Board of Review?
Board of Review, thank you, Linda. The Board of Review, that every year, we need to have a representative attend the training session as part of the requirement from the state for the Board of Review. And Dick, you might want to think about that. You can do it on Wistline, or you can do it in person at the library. They do offer that, so just as a footnote, I've been through it, I think Chuck, I think pretty much everyone. Next item in here is the Door County Board of Adjustment, where they denied the Jonathan Hurley permit. They go through in quite a bit of detail in terms of, this is the one that was on Lori Lane. Basically, why it was denied was the owners could have constructed an attached garage in compliance with the zoning ordinance. Therefore, the request to construct a detached garage on the east side of Lori Lane is based on personal preference. The hardship is also self-created, in that the owners should have considered the construction of a conforming residence with the garage when they built it in 2010, so.
Yeah, and when we reviewed this whole thing, and he presented it to the committee, that construction of a garage on the residence that he's living in would not have been possible because of the drop-off. They would have had to fill in like 5 extra feet of backfill to try and even, so I think it was something else keyed the denial.
Keyed the response?
And I'm guessing the denial was keyed on the basis of the construction materials for detached garage.
So
They didn't want a metal building on your road.
so I don't know what they'll end up doing, but that's at least the talk track there. Next item here came from the Door County Humane Society. I left the note sitting on my counter. This is the intake report from the Humane Society, and if you look down on there, you'll see 19 stray dogs, 58 stray cats. This is for the calendar year 2013. We always have an issue every year about where these animals came from. I called and I asked the question, I left the sheet at home. I can tell you where 15 of the animals came from. And there's another group of 18. They came from 3 different people. 2 of them are our farmers. And I can give you their name, but I just do not publicly do that. They're taken, and they're using the facility that's there. The key point is that you got 30 of these animals came from 3 people. And they came from, they have the address, and they're all inside the town. So I can't tell you who, what, where, when, and why, but I can just tell you that more than half of them are guaranteed from our township. So when we support the Humane Society, we're doing so because there are animals. However they got there, I can't say.
And there again, if you look at Mark Richards, we pay him $30 per call when he delivers an animal, and I believe he only delivered animals on 5 or 6 instances this past year. So
These
we
people-
had 77 animals, whereas our animal control officer only delivered 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, these people personally
So-
surrendered, brought the animals in, so.
It should be their responsibility then. They allowed these animals, so
Well, they say one of the,
breed on their farms, and they had an excess of them, and then they take them to the Humane Society. It's a good deal. I mean, you hate to just say they should shoot the cats or whatever, but when they should be responsible for their welfare,
yeah, when,
not the taxpayer.
in the investigation that I did, one of the individuals specifically said that the animals had been disposed of on his property by somebody else, unknown.
Then he should involve the sheriff's department.
Anyway, the other thing I was gonna say, I know you guys love the Humane Society, you've always been very responsive. I wanna know if you'd like to take a scheduled visit. We could arrange a personal visit of the facility, the tour, get to pet the animals, you know. If you'd like to do that, please let me know. I'd be happy to arrange that before or after one of our meetings.
There was a little bit of tidbit of information that I got about the Humane Society. How many local businesses did they use in building their new addition?
I have no idea.
It was slim to none.
I couldn't address it because I don't know the answer, and all I would be doing was giving you hearsay.
Okay. Because it was brought up by a contractor that they didn't use hardly any local.
Don't know.
You know, if you want something local, and I'm sure they're gonna go and ask every one of these people for money, you would think they would have used some people in
No.
local.
You know, we can check it out if you like, but, you know, it would be, it could very well be, John, much like our building right here.
I mean, it's Portside's local.
But Portside jobbed out, you know.
Well, it's
So,
right.
I mean, you don't know. I can't answer the question, so you have to give it from there. Last thing in your packet is the zoning ordinance update. So you've got a book, you can pop some of those items in there and have a current booklet. The zoning, planning department updates, zoning ordinance that goes in your manual. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? That's it for the correspondence. We have the Schenck audit of our records is going to be coming up on Monday, February 10th at the town hall. And we have elections official training session Wednesday, February 5th at the town hall at 2 p.m. Those are for the people that volunteer to support our elections. The Door County unit of the Wisconsin Towns Association meeting is Thursday, February 6th at 7 p.m. It is being hosted by the Town of Sturgeon Bay at the Knights of Columbus building. Plan Commission meeting, I'm going to guess, is tomorrow night, January 21st.
That's at 6:30.
6:30 at the town hall. All right. Next Board of Supervisors meeting is going to be Monday, February 24th. That is a change from our normal time frame, normal date, I should say, same time, 7 p.m. here. Spring elections are on Tuesday, April 1st. Oh, I don't know about that. Polls open at 7 to 8. Does it mean the results are going to be swayed, or I'm not quite sure?
We do not have a February primary, so there will not be any election on February 18th, at least in Sevastopol.
Well, that's
Other
it.
towns may have some, but Sevastopol will not.
Okay, agenda items for next
County
meeting.
Coastal Byways meeting will be this Thursday, the 23rd at 8:30, Bailey's Harbor Town Hall. We'll be going through our draft master plan. I have not received any comments from any of the public or anybody on the board here. So the corrections I've made to it will be presented, and
What about the signage? Does the subject of signage ever come up? Because there's certain regulations on that section of where does it officially start? Officially starts
at the stoplights.
at the stoplight, 4257 split.
It takes both highways up to the
Okay.
end.
Because, I've been, just one person in particular, wanted to put some signage on a building, found out that because his building is on the highway, that's considered the coastal byway, that there's a completely different set of regulations regarding any kind of signage.
There will be no new billboards of any type, whether they're painted on buildings or freestanding or anything like such. Those that are there can be maintained. If they are abandoned, they will have to be removed. And that's it's been an addition to the Door County zoning. It's in the zoning plan and everything else now.
So we don't have any jurisdiction over that.
Nope, not as the town.
I'm thankful we don't look like Nassawapi.
Well,
Maybe just
I know.
the opposite. Okay. So agenda items for next meeting. Dick wants to talk about contracts, and
Yep.
we'll do some homework on that. We have anticipated comprehensive plan update pending. John, anything else? No? Okay. In which case, I think we have covered all the business for tonight. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Wow.
You got
Motion by Dick, seconded by Chuck. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.